What would you do if the person you loved most spat in your face just because you were poor? You'd probably crumble, right? Well, that's exactly what Soyeon expected from Jin-woo. But as the sound of those luxury car engines fades into the distance, Jin-woo isn't crying. He's not begging. He's just waiting. Welcome to the turning point, guys. This is the moment where the loser becomes the legend. Can you believe the level of patience this guy has? Back in that suffocating basement apartment, you know the one, with the peeling walls and the smell of mildew, Jin-woo sits alone in the dark. The silence is heavy. It's the kind of silence that would break a normal man. For years, he's lived this lie. He's worn the rags, eaten the cheap ramen, and endured the insults of people who aren't even worth his time. Why? Because it was all a trial. A test of character that would push any human to their absolute limit. And Soyeon? She failed it spectacularly. But here's the thing. Jin-woo isn't just some guy who got lucky. He's been prepared for this day for a long, long time. He stands up, his shadow stretching long against the grimy walls. He moves toward a heavy, rusted metal shelf that looks like it hasn't been touched in decades. With a groan of metal on concrete, he shoves it aside. This isn't just spring cleaning, guys. He's looking for his real life. Beneath a loose floorboard, hidden under years of dust and grime, lies a small, velvet-lined compartment. And inside? Something that absolutely does not belong in a slum. A sleek, encrypted gold smartphone. It's glowing. It's humming with power. As the light reflects in his eyes, you can see the change. The tired, unassuming loser is gone. In his place stands a man with a gaze so sharp it could cut glass. He picks up the device. His fingers, once shaking from hunger, are now steady as a rock. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't look back at the life he's leaving behind. He dials a single number. A number that connects him to the highest echelons of power in the city. When the voice on the other end answers with a trembling, "Master," Jin-woo only has 4 words to say. And trust me, those words are about to shake the very foundations of this city. He said it. The words that change everything. The trial is over. Can you even imagine the weight behind those words? For 3 years, Jin-woo Kang, the heir to the most powerful conglomerate in the country, lived like a dog. He ate scraps, lived in a hole, and took every insult his in-laws threw at him. Why? Because of a trial. A test of character. And now? The test is finished. As his thumb presses against the biometric scanner of that encrypted gold smartphone, the screen doesn't just light up, it roars to life. Identity verified, Kang Jin-woo. It's a confirmation of his very existence. On the other end of the line, there's a silence so heavy you could hear a pin drop. Then, a voice. Manager Han. The man who has waited 3 long years for this single call. You can hear his breath hitch, his voice cracking with a mix of relief and absolute devotion. Young master, is it truly you? Jin-woo doesn't hesitate. The humble, tired man we saw before. He's gone. In his place stands a king. His voice is cold, sharp, and filled with an authority that would make anyone tremble. He tells Han to prepare. No more hiding. No more trash son-in-law. He looks down at the divorce papers, those pathetic scraps of paper that his wife's family thought would break him. He doesn't even pick them up. Why would he? They belong in the dirt, just like the people who gave them to him. He turns his back on the damp walls, the flickering lights, and the misery of the last 1,000 days. As he steps toward the stairs, every step feels like a thunderclap. He's not just leaving a basement, he's reclaiming a throne. When he reaches the exit, the sunlight hits his face for the first time in what feels like forever. He squinted, but he didn't look back. Manager Han is already moving mountains on the other side of the city. The Shinhwa group is about to find out that their true master has returned. And trust me, guys, they are not ready for the storm that's coming. Jin-woo breathes in the fresh air, his eyes sharper than they've ever been. the hunt is about to begin. So, Jin-woo just told the world he's coming home. But he's not doing it with a whimper, he's doing it with style. Or at least, his version of it. Picture this, the most exclusive, high-end car showroom in the city. We're talking polished black floors so shiny you could use them as a mirror, and cars that cost more than most people make in a lifetime. And then, there's Jin-woo. He walks through those automatic glass doors, and man, the contrast is absolutely insane. You've got these million-dollar machines under bright spotlights, and right in the middle of it all, a guy in a faded grey hoodie and scuffed-up sneakers. Can you imagine the looks he's getting? The staff aren't just confused, they're offended. It's like he's a smudge of dirt on a pristine diamond. But does Jin-woo care? Not a single bit. He's walking around like he owns the place, his hands tucked into his pockets, eyes scanning the room with a look of complete boredom. To him, these aren't just cars, they're just toys he's finally decided to play with. But the elite shoppers? They are fuming. They're whispering behind their hands, wondering how security even let a homeless guy inside. And honestly, the audacity is what makes this so satisfying. He's not there to window shop. He's there to reclaim what's his. But just as he's about to make his move, the atmosphere shifts. One of the sales clerks, a guy who clearly thinks he's better than everyone, steps into Jin-woo's path. He's got this look of pure disgust, looking Jin-woo up and down like he's something he stepped in. "I think you've lost your way," the clerk says, his voice dripping with condescension. He's literally blocking the path, trying to intimidate our hero into leaving. But Jin-woo just looks at him, totally unfazed. He's seen sparier things than a guy in a cheap suit. He's about to open his mouth and probably shut this guy down for good, but then, it happens. A sound that makes his blood turn to ice. A high-pitched, mocking laugh that he would recognize anywhere. It's So-yeon. And she's not alone. She's standing there with director Kang, looking like she just won the lottery. This was supposed to be his big moment, his quiet return to power. But instead, he's face-to-face with the very people who threw him away. And you know they aren't going to let this go. They see him in his rags, and they think they've already won. But they have no idea what's in his pocket. They have no idea that the man in the hoodie is about to ruin their entire lives. Can you believe the timing? Just when Jin-woo thinks he's finally catching a break, the ghosts of his miserable past decide to show up and ruin everything. Seriously, guys, I wanted to reach through the screen and slap someone. So-yeon is standing there, looking like $1 million in her designer tweed, but her soul? Yeah, that's straight-up garbage. She's clutching her expensive Hermes bag like Jin-woo is some kind of contagious virus. She looks him up and down, and the disgust on her face is so thick you could cut it with a knife. "What are you doing here, Jin-woo?" she sneers. "This isn't the bus stop. Did you get lost looking for the nearest dumpster?" And then, the ultimate final boss of arrogance enters the scene. Director David Kang. You know the type, slicked back hair, a suit that screams "I have more money than taste," and a goatee that just makes you want to roll your eyes. He slides an arm around So-yeon's waist like he's claiming a trophy and looks at Jin-woo with that permanent sneer. He doesn't see a man, he sees an insect. David starts talking down to him, asking if he's stalking them. Stalking? Bro, he's just standing there. But David isn't done. He pulls out his wallet, of course it's a gold-trimmed one, and fishes out a crumpled bill. He literally throws it at Jin-woo's feet. "Here," he says, sounding like he's doing a huge favor. "Take this and buy yourself a decent meal. Just stop embarrassing So-yeon by existing in her line of sight." I was fuming at this point. And it gets even worse. A crowd starts to gather because, of course, people love a scene in a luxury showroom. So-yeon starts playing the victim, whispering to the wealthy onlookers that Jin-woo is her insane ex-husband who can't let go. Can you imagine the humiliation? Everyone is looking at our boy Jin-woo like he's a common thief or a lunatic. But look closely at Jin-woo. He isn't shrinking away. His hands are deep in his hoodie pockets, and those soulful eyes? They're turning cold. Sharp. The anger is boiling under the surface, and honestly, I'm here for it. He's been through enough. Just as Jin-woo looks like he might actually say something that would shut them both up, David signals over his shoulder. Two massive security guards, guys who look like they eat bricks for breakfast, step out from the shadows and flank Jin-woo. David's face twists into the most punchable, smug grin you've ever seen. He knows he's won. Or at least, he thinks he has. Because in this world, money talks, and Jin-woo currently looks like he doesn't have a cent to his name. The guards are closing in, and Director Kang is wearing a look that says he's already won. Can you feel the tension? This is the moment where every normal person would start sweating, begging for a second chance. But Jin-woo? He's not normal. He's standing there in that faded grey hoodie, looking like he's bored at a grocery store checkout while security prepares to drag him across the polished black floors of the luxury showroom. So-yeon is practically vibrating with joy. She points a manicured finger and screams, "Throw this trash out before he ruins the floor." Can you believe the nerve? She really thinks she's untouchable because she's standing next to a guy in a silver-checkered suit. But here's the thing. Jin-woo isn't moving an inch. He just watches them with those sharp, soulful eyes. Then, the store manager appears. He's sprinting across the showroom, his face twisted in a mask of professional fury. He wants to please Director Kang. He wants to show everyone that this high-end space is only for the elite. But then, everything stops. Jin-woo reaches into his pocket. It's such a small movement, but the camera zooms in. He pulls out a device. Not just any phone. A golden smartphone. It catches the overhead spotlights, gleaming with a light that feels expensive. No, more than expensive. It looks like pure power. The manager is mid-stride, hand outstretched to grab Jin-woo's shoulder when he sees it. His face goes from an arrogant boss to ghostly pale in less than a second. His eyes are practically bulging out of his head. He recognizes that device. He knows exactly what it represents. And suddenly, the air in the room changes. Director Kang's smirk? Gone. So-yeon's laughter? Silenced. Everyone is staring at Jin-woo's hand. Because that beggar they were just mocking? He might just own the ground they're standing on. You guys, the look on the manager's face is worth $1 billion. He's trembling. He's literally shaking. He looks like he's seen a god, and he knows he just committed the ultimate sin. What is that phone? Why is a man who can afford it wearing a worn-out hoodie? The secrets are finally starting to spill, and trust me, the fallout is going to be absolutely legendary. This isn't just a reversal, it's a total annihilation of their reality.